Maryland Terrapins out on the field. They'll do a quick photo shoot as well in front of the crew. They do this every year, kind of chaos, but boy, they get it done. An impressive group as you see both teams on the field. Indiana with their 8 national championships, Maryland with 3. Back in the lineup, though, for Maryland, Andrew Samuels, who took that major collision against UCLA. He's going to go.
Man, I cannot believe he's back. Thankfully, he is healthy, patched up, but last week that collision in the UCLA game, Dean, was just horrendous.
All right, let's take a look at the starting lineup for Todd Yeagley and the Indiana Hoosiers, who come in rocking and rolling with their 4-0 record.
Goal scoring was the big question mark coming out of last season. To be honest, it has been for the last couple of years for Indiana. But for Maryland, they too have some question marks as well with regards to defense when you lose a big guy like Alex Crinali. This lineup for the Maryland Terrapins with Dane St. Clair in the back and Eric Williamson, such a great talent up top. He's complemented by Sebastian Elney and Gordon Wild. Jake Rosansky and Amar Sejdic, so strong in the midfield.
That's the Maryland starting lineup you saw right there as we pan the Indiana starters as well. As you mentioned, Lillard back for a big senior year and ready to go as you see the Maryland starting lineup. Dane St. Clair, the new man between the pipes.
St. Clair is a very big presence in the back. He's got a 6'5" frame, does a terrific job. He's got a couple of shutouts under his belt. We talked a little bit about him last week in the way that he reminds us of Zach Steffen, who spent just enough time for a cup of coffee at Maryland before he moved on to his professional career, but was so good for Sasho Swarovski.
All right, to give you a little better idea of what we're talking about for Andrew Samuels. By the way, he passed all the concussion tests early, but how about this shot?
Unbelievable, the collision in the midfield, and we were really concerned there, first of all, when the blood started to show up, but then beyond that, the length of time it took for him to get up off the field and moved off. You start to think with collisions with the head, of course, the concussion protocol has got to get started right away, and he's been cleared to play. So good news for Mr. Samuels, good news for the Maryland Terrapins, because we watched him at a couple of different spots on the field last week, and he was really showed very well, both defensively and in the midfield.
Well, what he does is he allows Rosansky and Sejdic to push forward with those quality attacking players, including Gordon Wild.
Yeah, you can't have Sejdic and Rosansky hanging back in that 6 and 8 pocket. You really want to have Samuels running the show back there, and with his speed and ability to distribute, he's really important.
We call it the house that Sasho built. What Sasho Swarovski has done here with the students. 2,000 people before the game, members of the crew got scarves, but check out these numbers. 2 of those are Monday night games, Chris. Monday night. So in the last 12 days, the Maryland men's soccer team will have seen 20,000 fans come to Ludwig Field. That's in the last 12 days. There are Division I programs, men and women combined, that won't get 20,000.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It is an amazing feat when you consider how many college soccer programs within a 10-mile radius of College Park exist. This is the one that people choose to go support so often. And when the big names come in, like Indiana, and we know Indiana's a big name for every away team that hosts them, you're going to see the fans line up and support the home team.
Last Friday, the 4th largest crowd, 7,532. We could top it tonight. What a way to start the Big Ten conference season, though. Indiana and Maryland, always the 2 favorites to win the Big Ten since Maryland appeared. Mark Kadlesic, the man in the middle from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He'll be running the show. Also does several Major League Soccer games, so Mark Kadlesic with the whistle. And Maryland, Indiana underway. Indiana in white from head to toe. Maryland from white to head to toe. Maryland in all red from head to toe. And early on, a quick foul. And a lot of eyes will be on Mason Toy, the freshman getting the start from South Orange, New Jersey. not too far from College Park, Maryland. He'll be amped up. A lot of family there.
Yeah, there were some questions about what combination Coach Yeagley was going to start with tonight, but he's got a lot to choose from. Mason Toye, great talent. Griffin Dorsey will start alongside him up top there. Toye, a little bit more of the number 9 player that's going to come in heavy and hot. He's got great speed, loves to hold the ball, loves to combine with his teammates too, trying to get him a little more involved physically with his teammates, or with the opponents.
And there's Toye. Donovan Pines gets the start at center back. Miles Stray started a week ago against UCLA. Then it was Samuels, then it was Pines, and now Samuels in his more comfortable defensive midfield position. Back to the goal scoring though for Indiana. 4 players through 4 games have 2 goals. Mason Toye, one of them. Andrew Gutman, one of the best left backs in the country. Rashad Hyacinth has been brilliant, and Trevor Swartz, all of them with 2 goals for the Hoosiers.
Oh, interesting that we're seeing Trevor Swartz figure into the restart situations, and when Indiana gets restarts, they're starting to add some creativity because they have a few more tools they can work with. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens when the whistle blows in favor of Indiana in some of these shooting restart opportunities.
That's Johannes Bergman. Told you his story last week. 23 years old over in Germany. Never signed a professional contract over there. Similar to Gordon Wild, got injured before signing a contract. And what a pickup, number 5. You see him right there, Johannes Bergman. At 23 years old, he's got 3 years of eligibility, and boy did Maryland need it. They lost Niedermeyer and they lost their entire back line. He was huge, and so was Chase Gasper, who has the throw-in, a transfer from UCLA. Obviously a high emotion game for him last Friday, playing against his former team. Amar Sadic coming off that 9 goals, 9 assists from a year ago. Chris, a lot of players on the field for both teams that have U.S. youth national team experience.
Yeah, they were active over the last 6 to 8 months, as a matter of fact, when you consider how the different cycles are underway. The 18s, the 19s, and the 20s all had representatives from the 2 teams we see out here tonight.
You see Todd Yeagley, middle of your screen right there. Now in his 8th season, of course, the son of the Godfather, Jerry Yeagley, one of the all-time soccer icons. He's already won a national championship in 2012, and he said he's been around the program for all 8 national titles. Of course, 6 of them for his dad, 1 for Mike Freitag, and then he got one on his own. He did a couple, actually, where when he was with the Columbus Crew, he was calling the games on the radio with my main man, Chris Doran.
Yeah, he was. In this situation, real quickly, Mason Toye gets tied up. I don't think anything comes out of that in terms of intent, but the referee has already said to Toye, that's twice now. I've had to blow the whistle on you. Don't do it again. Toye can ill afford to get a card. He's got to stay available here for selection, and he's got to stay with a personal clean sheet, if you will. Yeah, Todd was a terrific color analyst for our radio broadcast. We were down in Richmond, did some coverage down there of some semifinals that we couldn't get past, and then eventually a final.
Here's Frankie Moore, number 13. Another one of the long line of outstanding defensive midfielders. And there's Toye, who, by the way, did not get a yellow card. Mark Kadlesic, you could see the card coming out of the pocket. He thought better of it. So Toye earns the corner kick early doors here. 5 minutes in, corner kick, Indiana. Looks like Andrew Samuels is going to earn the assignment of keeping an eye on Toye. Lillard will come forward for corner kicks. It'll be Trevor Swartz, the redshirt junior from California. Headed out of there by Donovan Pines. Set back by Gutman. Toye is loose in the 18. Back to his left foot and across, and handled by Dane St. Clair.
Two pieces of that play there. Andrew Gutman, I think, has strengthened his lower body and his ability to whack a ball at an extremely high rate into a packed penalty area. He does such a nice job with that this year, Dean. Second piece is Mason Toye. That's where he wants to be, right? 2-3 touches, beat a player, and put that ball on frame. Great job for Indiana.
Sent forward by that Indiana back line. It's Lillard and Timmy Mell, along with Gutman, the new addition, Jordan Klein. So just like Maryland with George Campbell, a converted attacking player at right back, Jordan Klein, former Indiana High School Player of the Year after scoring buckets of goals, is the right back for the Hoosiers. Looking for Swartz, and the Canadian St. Clair is there.
Again, Mason Toye gets this ball after the rebound from Gutman's service in, settles it once, maybe holds it too long. Would like to see him explode, get around Elney with that second touch rather than holding it for a third.
Toye's been super active. Chris Dorn already mentioned the service qualities of Trevor Swartz as he was trying to find Reese Buckmaster, the junior from Auburn, Indiana, who is perhaps back at home. He played quite a bit defensively out wide, but now getting the assignment at the number 10, interchangeable with Jeremiah Gutyard.
An over and back offside call, and Indiana gets bailed out of the counterattack situation that Maryland was starting to build from. Reese Buckmaster, who was very helpful in the back line last year for Indiana, has moved to more permanent midfield position, which is where he's more comfortable and can certainly be a lot more effective, as Coach Yeagley told us, for the Indiana team this year.
There's Reese Buckmaster back in the middle of the field. As we mentioned, Jeremiah Gutyard from Bloomington. And there's Sasho Saraski in his 25th season at Maryland. 2 national titles, 7 college cups, 12 conference titles, 22 times to the tourney. Elney. Gordon Wild off that 17-goal Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year performance has 3 goals already on the season for the Terps. Jake Rosansky, speaking of national championships, he won one at Virginia. Now in his second year at Maryland after winning the title in 2014. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists on the season already, Rosansky.
Dean, Indiana's defended last week, especially against South Florida on Sunday night, in a real true 4-4-2, where the line of confrontation was the midfield line. Indiana's line of confrontation is even dropped lower than that, and they're staying in this very disciplined 4-4-2, which allows them to occupy the space that Maryland wants, makes it difficult for Maryland to get into that space and become creative.
Samuels will come all the way back to St. Clair. Now Bergman, that big left foot, pushing it forward to Wild.
This flashback to the South Florida game. Great 1-2 opportunity for Gutman to finish. Tommy Ward doing a nice job as a freshman, combining with the veteran. The penalty kick in the second half awarded for Indiana, and their opportunity to go up with Trevor Swartz converting, and then Rashad Hyacinth puts an exclamation point on the night for several fans who gathered in Bloomington for fireworks at Armstrong Stadium.
Trey Muse, the freshman from Louisville. We mentioned all of those players with U.S. Youth National Team experience. Trey Muse, a special goalkeeper.
Yeah, he is. He's developed with the Seattle Sounders FC Academy program. He's played with the senior team a bit, has had plenty of reserve games, and has had a tremendous amount of international experience with the youth national program. Todd looks at him and he says, you know, this kid he's just got that mature professional cut to him when you look at him, and you know that he's going to do what he needs to do in a game under certain situations that other true freshmen just don't have the toolkit to handle.
So both teams with big-time goalkeepers pushing forward. Buckmaster back across. Oh, my. Toy lurking on that far post. Brilliant run by Indiana, just missing that first goal.
Griffin Dorsey taking the field, taking the real estate on the run. He turns the defender, and then he goes the opposite way and lays that ball off perfectly for Buckmaster, who looks far post, and Toy is just cutting his run tight enough that he overruns the ball.
Griffin Dorsey with a goal and an assist, and has pretty much been penciled in the starting lineup for Todd Yeagley upon arrival. As keep in mind, Indiana replacing yet another Thompson, and that is key, right? Who is eventually going to take over that number 10 role?
Well, you know, it's like Coach Yeagley and Coach Masonoff went ahead and they shook the box of U18 players on the roster, and these 4 guys dropped off. And the 4 guys we're talking about, 3 of them are on the field right now, and Dorsey, Toy, and the goalkeeper, Trey Muse. So with the injury that exists and the opportunity for Indiana to get all 4 on the field at some point, it would be just devastating for opponents. And we're talking about Justin Rennicks, of course, the number 10.
And the captain of that US 18 program that Chris just told you about. 12 minutes in, it'll be a throw-in for Maryland. Best opportunity so far, though, that one moments ago with Dorsey to Buckmaster, hoping to find Toy, but just a step too late. Now Maryland with Rosansky. Donovan Pines comes forward.
Look how deep the center back is.
Pines sent right into Trey Muse. What makes him such a special goalkeeper? You talked about his training, but how about his attributes?
Yeah, well, he's big. I mean, that's one of the first things you look at, is size. 6'4", 195. He's got a great soccer mind. His dad was the goalkeeper at the University of Kentucky. In fact, was the Kentucky Goalkeeper of the Year. So he's grown up around the game, and he's grown up around the position, which is a very unique position. It requires a certain amount of skill set that he certainly has probably earned from spending time with his family, with his dad in particular, but certainly being put in the right environment where he can grow as a player.
Campbell. There's that height, 6'4", almost 200 pounds. George Campbell, number 6. The right back, an attacking player who looked very good against UCLA, and with Sasho Soroski standing right there, Sasho said he's just the kind of player that with his fight and determination, he had to find a spot for him somewhere.
Well, he's got great leadership skills too, right? Being around the program for as long as he has, and he certainly brings a lot to the game in that he understands the Maryland way. He understands it both from the way the team plays, but also what's required of the players in matches as big as this one on a Friday night in front of 7,000 plus.
Foul on Gasper. He's the transfer from UCLA, but really back home, as if you followed his story at all from Alexandria, his father ill right now, as we send our best to the Gaspers. Sasho Soroski. What a record. As we mentioned, 8 college cups. Took him a couple runs in 2002, 3 and 4. He was there, then won it in 2005 and won it again in 2008. There's St. Clair, part of the Canada Youth National Team program. St. Clair booms it long, trying to find Eric Williamson. Williamson, who stole the show in 2015, the only year that Maryland did not win the Big Ten regular season. The Buckeyes won it, and he went into Columbus and scored in both the semis and the final as a freshman. Another good year last year as he makes second team All Big Ten.
How many freshman goalkeepers have that kind of moxie in a game like this? Did you just see what Trey Muse did with Gordon Wild closing him down?
Big time confidence. Now a yellow card for Williamson.
And this is interesting. Williamson has got to be careful going up against Timmy Mel like that. And Mel's holding his head. It's a rough first touch for Timmy Mel, and yeah. I mean, it looks more consequential than intentional, certainly, but in real time, that's a tough knock for Tim Mel. And I think more of it came from his head hitting the turf, don't you?
Yeah, well, also the touch kind of got away from him, and then Williamson closed down. He gets the yellow card. You're right, boy, his head hit hard. Good call, Chris.
Tim Mel was the starter in lieu of Grant Lillard last year in this game, IU and Maryland, in Bloomington. And it was because Lillard had a red card on the weekend and couldn't play. Coach Todd Yeagley said this week that game pretty much put Tim Mel on the map for the coaching staff because he did such a nice job.
Nice little touch by Frankie Moore to Swartz. Just keeps the game so simple. Todd Yeagley, as always, rattling off the incredible holding midfielders over the years at Indiana: Stonemeyer, O'Rourke, Porter, Bouchou. Pretty impressive list.
Yeah, and he compares Frankie Moore to those guys and says that, you know, there are qualities to that position. There are qualities to the personalities that have consistently held those spots. And Frankie Moore's got a lot of it coming out of him now, and you can only hope for that much.
Lillard. So Lillard doing his job, winning that first ball, and then Indiana earning the foul. Chris, last year we had the call in Bloomington, a 1-1 tie between these two teams. Lillard was not in that game, as you just mentioned. Klein.
It was a good game, though. I mean, we had that 1-0 score line going toward the 90th minute. We thought for sure we were going to be sitting there. Lots of opportunities. And then Alex Crinali in the, 88th minute was able to plant that one after Donovan Pine sent it in. And we went to overtime and finished it at 1-1.
Yeah, that was Donovan Pine's only point of the season. It was a long ball. Remember, it was foggy as well. He bombed it into the box, and there was Cronali who knocked that one through the hands of Mr. Webb in goal. Lillard and Gutman have been together a long time, both of them from Hinsdale, Illinois. Samuels picks it up quickly. Both teams phenomenal in transition. Elney was hoping to flick it right back to Wild. And Chris, here's the thing. Both teams great in transition, but both teams great in transition defense as well.
Yeah, getting back behind the ball is really important. In fact, winning that ball back as quickly as you can is a top priority for both of these teams, as it should be for any team. They're not willing to sit back. It doesn't matter how many opposing fans are sitting around the field in any one night. As a matter of fact, Todd Yeagley talked about how he planned the schedule a bit this year to make sure that the players were in front of large crowds and to get accustomed to it, because it was going to be something they would see in particular when they go to College Park to take on the Terrapins. But both teams are very, very strong, working hard to get that ball back.
Whistle against Moore in the midfield. Taking down the hero last week here on BTN Elney. There's Lillard with the captain's armband. A rededication for the center back.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time injured last year, and it didn't really pan out so well in terms of the quality of season that he wanted. So Lillard, when the season ended in 2016, decided to devote himself to a little more nutritional attention, a little more attention to how to recover from training sessions and games, and in particular to spend a little bit more time with things like yoga and what to do with his summer instead of spending the summer in the classroom. And he's a great student, don't get me wrong. He spent part of the summer in the classroom and then part of the summer training with his home team, the Chicago Fire, and was able to sit down with the coaching staff. They said, look, Grant, just go out and play. You're going to be with the first team. Relax. Do what you do. You'll be just fine. And he went out and had, along with Gutman, had a really great summer staying fit and getting his touches with a, as you well know, a very talented and now successful group of guys in Chicago.
Because of all of that, Todd Yeagley does not hesitate to say that he considers Lillard the best center back in the country. As you got to figure if he stays healthy, more All-America accolades will come his way. Almost halfway through the first half. No score. Maryland and Indiana. Campbell trying to find Zelavic. Good job by Gutman, but picked up by Elney.
You see Indiana's willing to stretch just a bit. You know, Dane St. Clair does have this great talent for driving a ball long distance off the turf. So Indiana's got to be careful not to get stretched too far.
Dorsey, we saw him make a great run, slide it over to Buckmaster. Here he comes again, pushing it forward, just a little bit too strong for Gutyard. But Dorsey will go right through you like your cones.
He's really comfortable with the ball, isn't he, Dean? He's got great speed, tremendous drive. He's a winner. He wants to compete and win, and that's what Todd told me this week. He said that you just can't find that. You can't teach that. You've got to find it, actually, and you only find it in, you know, one out of every so many players. But Dorsey wants to be on the field, and he wants to win. And with that posture with the ball, a couple of times he's taking space right through the middle of the field. Maryland's going to have to be careful.
Campbell, quick ball to Rosansky. Rosansky, he'll check back. Gives it back to Campbell. Campbell looking for a Wild. He'll chest it down. Elney in the foot race with Lillard. Still loose. Muse directing traffic. You can see him tell Gutman, clear it out. Rosansky again to Samuels. Top Wild, it'll pop right up to him, and with that left foot he takes a shot. Not on frame. Gordon Wild, he can strike quickly.
So when Gordon Wild drifts outside, he attracts the attention of two defenders. When he gets rid of the ball and gets back to the inside, sometimes he finds those spots that are in front of the back line of defense and behind that middle line of defense, and that's where Gordon Wild can really do a lot of damage. Give him one or two touches, he tees that ball up and gets a crack at goal. Not his best chance there, but a chance nonetheless for Maryland.
Wild back on it. Sasso Soroski telling us that he's not 100% healthy. Gutman. Off the head of Gasper. Dorsey. Tremendous one-on-one skills. Dorsey versus Gasper. Dorsey shucking and jiving back over this left foot, trying to find Toy. The big man Pines gets there first. Now Gutman will settle. Buckmaster now tracking behind Moore. He's got the liberty to do that. Klein tucking in, showing those attacking qualities. Flag is down. Toy is there, but so is St. Clair. Corner kick, Indiana.
Mason Toye with a really nice opportunity. Todd Yeagley talking this week about how Toye likes to stay between the lines, and he's right there between the lines there. The top of the 18 is what we're referring to. And if he can make those tight runs just outside the 6 and get a ball delivered like that, he'll start creating chances and getting on the score sheet a little more frequently. That's great work from Mason Toye. Rashad Hyacinth is going to come in his stead for the remainder of the first half.
So Rashad Hyacinth, the transfer from Belmont. Mentioned he's got 2 goals already on the season. Corner kick for Swartz in Indiana. Sent in. Pines is there. So is St. Clair. They call a whistle on Indiana. It looked more like it was Pines and St. Clair running into each other. Two corners already for Indiana, none for Maryland.
So Jeremiah Gutyard came out for Indiana, and Austin Pancho is in that midfield spot.
So Pancho, who's got a brother playing at Stanford, back-to-back NCAA champions. Whistle. Restart now for Maryland. Rosansky will leave it for Zelavic. So Zelavic going to wait for Pines and his 6'4" frame to come forward. Gasper also in the 18.
Goalkeeper Trey Muse is going to have to get physical if he gets up and pulls this out of the air. Maryland does a great job of throwing bodies at the goal mouth.
Zelavic sent in off the head of Rosansky. Gasper far post. There'll be a throw in for Maryland. They'll say off the head of Dorsey. Once again, standing room only at Ludwig Field. Dorsey will win it and earn the foul. He is so quick.
Gasper waiting on that ball. Dorsey intercepts it. He's off to the races. Dorsey sold that very well for a freshman, didn't he?
Boy, he sold it. That's that international experience he has with the U.S. under-18 program. Expect him to figure in with the U.S. under-20s as well. Good work by Gutman to keep it alive. Buckmaster has stayed in. As we mentioned, Austin Pancho, the junior wearing number 12, into the game. Gutman taken down by Williamson. Keep in mind, Eric Williamson already has that yellow card.
Gutman does a nice job of making something out of this. He makes the turn off Williamson, and Williamson does not have to foul him like that. He can keep that foul in his pocket and allow for his teammates who are sitting there. Amar Zelavic was ready to put pressure on Gutman.
And I'm pretty sure that was a conversation right there with Mark Kadlesic and Sasho Sorosky, saying that Williamson got the ball first. As DJ Reeves looking to check in for the Maryland Terrapins. Lillard sent forward. Hyacinth. So to chest that, trying to find Pancho, who will buzz all around the 18 and stay busy.
I tell you, I was at training on Wednesday afternoon. Rashad Hyacinth receives the ball very well off his chest, almost to the point where he actually works hard to put himself in that spot. He can drop it to his feet, or he can look to deliver a pass the way he did now, the way he did just a moment ago. trying to get better at playing with his back to goal. That's what happens when you're playing a number 9 spot. You're getting that ball with a defender on your back. Your back is to goal. Your objective is to keep that ball without turning and losing it. And he's learning different ways to do that.
Swartz, Buckmaster, Pancho, little nutmeg, but then Pine size. Frankie Moore, Gutman mishit that one right to St. Clair. Good idea, just mishit it as he was trying to find Rashad Hyacinth. Only 3 shots so far in this game, 2 for Indiana, 1 for Maryland. 15 minutes and change. Chris, felt like both coaches said this game could be 5-5 or it could be 0-0, and we're seeing the former at the moment.
Both coaches said that, 5-5.
Well, they thought there could be a ton of goals, or it could be this kind of defensive battle right here.
You know what stands out for me, Dean, is that when you take a look at both of these keepers, they've both played 4 full games. And Dane St. Clair for Maryland has only had to make 8 saves. That means he's averaging 2 saves a game, which means that he's not facing a lot. Trey Muse, for his part, 10 saves. He's got 3 shutouts, but he's only had to make 10 saves in 4 big games.
Might be facing one here, Wild, down near the end line.
My point in making that stat, or sharing that stat, is that there's not a lot of work that these guys have had to do. I don't want to take anything away from their performance, certainly, but if you're not facing a lot of shots, that means who's doing the work? It means the guys in front of you are doing the work. They're getting the job done. And as many question marks as Coach Sasho has had with his Maryland back 4, he's done a really nice job in selection in these last 4 games, at least as it relates to minimizing opportunities for the opponent.
Lillard. Too long, too strong for Swartz. Throw in here for Maryland. The flow of this first half reminds you a little bit of last week against UCLA, where it was also zeros through the first 45, and then 4 goals came in the second half.
Yeah, we were treated to quite a second half last week as Indiana goes to their bench, and Corey Thomas finds his way onto the field, number 11.
Corey Thomas had that game winner over Smiling Bob Warming and Penn State last year, a 1-0 victory. Also looks like Eric Zelavic trying to check in for Maryland. He's got 2 goals already, the freshman. National championships, 26 college cups between these 2 teams, 18 for the Indiana Hoosiers, 8 for Maryland. In addition, Maryland winning that national championship back in 1968 to go with the ones in 5 and 8. Zansky, Samuels, very clean. Sadic. Campbell, Sadic will turn back. Sadic, like Muse, the goalkeeper for Indiana from Louisville. At Zelavic still waiting to get on. Number 15 jersey right in front of the fourth officials table. Here's DJ Reeves. It'll fall to Zelavic. Gasper, how about that trap from Wild as Gasper put some heat on it. The given goal, though, not in play. It'll go out of bounds.
I've become intrigued with watching Wild and watching him find his gaps where he can help the team. He does such a nice job of understanding where everyone is around him, in particular the defenders, and where his opportunities are to work in combination with his teammates. His teammates are going to have to up the game a little bit when it comes to combining with Wild, because Wild does not have a lot of time and space when he gets the ball in the middle of that back line of Indiana's.
Good work by Corey Thomas just to keep it alive. Here comes Gutman. Now Thomas, back heel, Gutman in, deflected off of Hyacinth, almost going in. The closest opportunity yet right there for Indiana.
Boy, Gutman does a great job of bridging the defender, and Thomas with the heel pass. Opportunity for Rashad Hyacinth, and too many defensive legs getting in there for Rashad to have a clean shot at that. Man, oh man, close stuff in the buildup, the quick transition, and having Maryland's defenders tracking back and facing their own goal. That's not the way you want to be facing if you're a defender.
St. Clair. Booms it long. Second ball, Bergman sends it forward. So Matt Zelavic into the game now for Maryland. The freshman from Washington, D.C. Sasha Swarovski telling me that when he was in the 8th grade, he's as big as he is now, which meant he was a giant, right? And he featured prominently on U.S. Soccer's youth national team list, but as everybody started to grow to his same size, they caught up to him a little bit. And he says that he thinks he's going to reemerge on the radar for the U.S. programs now being at Maryland. He compares him to Jason Gary, who just was an all-out goal-scoring threat. Get him in front of the goal, and then also his work ethic, great in the locker room, gets along with everybody. That's pretty strong when you're comparing him to the all-time leading scorer at Maryland and the former Player of the Year.
Yeah, last time Maryland had a Player of the Year was Jason Gary, and that's high praise.
Tomorrow, don't miss a minute of great football action on BTN as Wisconsin, Maryland, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Illinois hit the field for non-conference games. It all begins tomorrow at noon Eastern on BTN and BTN to go. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to find the game in your market.
Jason Gary of Maryland, of course, former Player of the Year, but not the most recent one. Getting phone calls from the Mullins family.
As Mullins won it back-to-back.
Yeah.
They're both from Louisiana as well, Gary and Mullins. 7 minutes and change left here in the first half.
Patrick Mullins in 2012 and 2013.
Whistle against Maryland will allow Indiana. It's Eric Williamson again, who has not been on the good side of Marquette Lessig.
Coming out of the back, Jordan Klein on the dribble, gets through traffic. And that's after the play, and that's going to draw the attention of our man in the middle. Even if it was during the play, it would have attracted the attention. You don't take a player down from behind like that.
There's the big man we talked about, who Sasha Swarovski talking about the fact that in the 8th grade he was a giant. He said even now he looks like he's a senior, not a freshman.
Sort of interesting if we look back to that UCLA game from last Friday, Dean, remember UCLA kind of went to the physical game to slow down Maryland in their transition, especially in the first half. They were committed to physical play. I feel like we've seen a bit of that from Maryland tonight, and I think in particular we're seeing it on the far side where Indiana has got an opportunity to break free with Griffin Dorsey, and Jace Gasper, who's an experienced defender, has stepped in and really applied quite a bit of physical contact there. There you get a bit of it just on that head ball, where Gasper is not afraid to keep physical contact in play and keeping Dorsey from getting away from it.
Here's the breakdown of Chris Doran. Alongside Chris, I'm Dean Linke. Delighted to be with you for the start of conference action, Big Ten men's soccer. Indiana and Maryland. Pines. Samuels kept alive. Zelavic pushed forward. A little bit too strong for Reeves. Lillard. Nice cutting pass to Poncho. Now Dorsey straight downhill and dangerous. We'll drop it back to Hyacinth. He's going to take a dribbler, but not on frame. Out of bounds. It'll be a goal kick back to Maryland with just over 5 minutes remaining. Indiana and Maryland here in the first half tied at 0.
Rashad Hyacinth does a really nice job here taking this ball after Dorsey leaves it for him. Look at the defenders had already committed themselves to going to the corner with Dorsey. Hyacinth, who scored a ton of goals for Belmont, born in Trinidad and Tobago, has got family members who were counting on him to enjoy a college education as well as play the game that he's loved forever and ever. And after a couple of years at Belmont, found his way to Indiana University.
Dorsey will switch it. Down to Gutman. Gutman deflected. Pressure from Poncho. Yeah, Rashad Hyacinth. I talked to the godfather, Jerry Yeagley, one of the all-time legends of the game, and he said, who's ever in Rashad Hyacinth's body, we love him turning around his fortunes from what was a tough year, his first year transferring a year ago.
Yeah, and you know what I really admire about Hyacinth is that when he had kind of lost that starting position late in the season, Dean, I went to training a few times, and Rashad Hyacinth was one of the last players to leave the training pitch. He was practicing his game. He had a coach out there working with him. I think I actually remember Brian Masonoff working with him on how to break down a defender in 1v1 situations, and he was constantly working harder. He wanted the coaching staff to know that he wanted back on the field as a starter or as a reserve, but certainly back on the field to help this team be successful in the postseason. He comes back now in this early going of the 2017 campaign, has a couple of goals, and has played some really important roles for Indiana in their first 4 games.
Samuels off the top. We showed you that terrible collision he suffered against UCLA. Went to the hospital that night. Did not get released until the next morning as they stitched up the cut around his eye. But as we told you, no concussion. And Sasho Soroski, when I talked to him today confirming the lineup, he was so fired up that he had Samuels, because if he's not there, here's the deal: Rosansky and Sadic, they got to go with 2 holding mids to do the job of one Andrew Samuels.
Yeah, and Rosansky and Sadic are going to serve Maryland better if they're higher up the field. So you just gain so much by having Samuels available.
So here we go now with a look at Andrew Samuels. First corner kick for the Maryland Terrapins. 2 minutes and 30 plus remaining. So Mars Sadic takes the corners from this side. Gordon Wild often takes them from the other side. Sadic with that right foot. Looping ball. Lillard snaps it right out of there. Wild runs it down. He's fouled, and this could be Gordon Wild time right there. The foul coming from Corey Thomas.
Well, that's good veteran awareness. We told you Gordon Wild always knows where his opponents are in relation to him, and he gets just a whiff of that contact from behind. May or may not have been tripped up. He may have sold that, but it's still a great whistle for Maryland to take advantage of. And we talked on the podcast this week, And I said Maryland has got to be attentive in their restart opportunities, both defensively and offensively. So when they defend, they've got to be defending well. When they're on the attack, they've got to cherish this moment. Let's see what they can do.
Chris Doran joining me on this week's United Soccer Coaches podcast to preview this game. 4 and 5, Indiana and Maryland. Muse looking on, Wild usually shooting here, and he was, but well over the crossbar.
Well, he's looking at shot all day in this situation, Dean, and I can't blame him. On the other hand, I'm not so sure Trey Muse is the goalkeeper you beat with that kind of opportunity, because he's 6'4" with that wingspan, and the distance from which Gordon is shooting, I'm not so sure you're going to fool Trey Muse at this level.
Muse. We've had a lot of great goalkeepers over the years here on the Big Ten Network, celebrating their 10th anniversary, by the way, as we'll take a flashback at an epic matchup a few years ago between these two teams at halftime. And Muse already looks like he's going to join the list of great ones. Foul on Wild. So here comes Indiana with perhaps some.
They're going to have to rush it with almost 10 to go.
Gutman now releases. It's loose off a Hyacinth. I think Hyacinth was surprised that Samuels didn't get it. And after all of that, 5 shots for Indiana, 2 for Maryland, but the score is 0s at the half.
Maybe would have wanted to have seen something a little different from Indiana with that last opportunity. Perhaps the right-footed strike. Just go ahead and float that ball up over the back line and see if Lillard can get to the other end of it. Couple of opportunities in the run of play, certainly in transition. Indiana has looked dangerous. In terms of possession and build-up, Maryland has done well, but they've not created much in the way of opportunities in the attacking third. This game could go wide open in the second half, Dean.
That stadium is packed again here at Ludwig Field. Indiana, the number 4 team in the country, and Maryland, number 5. The crew is loose, looking for a goal, but we have none through 45 between the Hoosiers and the Terps on the Big Ten Network. Halftime in College Park, number 4 Indiana, number 5 Maryland, 0. Same scoreline a week ago against UCLA, featuring Maryland right here at Ludwig Field, but Chris Doran, second half delivered.
Yeah, and it started with Gordon Wild and that penalty kick, but how about Eric Holt answering for the UCLA Bruins? I mean, this was attack, 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 and the game winner comes in overtime after 4 goals are scored in regulation, the second half that is. And there you go again, another Sebastian Elney celebration on a Friday night at Ludwig.
He did it 2 years ago as a freshman with a header to beat UCLA in overtime. Went straight to that exact same spot in the stands. Was able to stand up there. This time he thought better of hanging around there, but another celebration for number 9, Sebastian Elney.
Maybe it's Dean Linke brings the fireworks to Ludwig on a Friday. You're the one calling all of these games, Dean.
Well, just lucky to have this great seat next to you, Chris Doran, and college soccer at the highest level. I want to show you what Indiana started the game with, as we mentioned some quality freshmen in the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. With Mason Toy joining the group and Griffin Dorsey too, we've talked a lot about Trey Muse. So this is how Indiana started the match. Now we're in the second 45. We've seen a couple of new faces in the lineup, and we'll see how Indiana is going to go to start the second 45. It looks like a return essentially to the way they started the match. Mason Toy in that number 9 role up top, and Indiana's going to start with the ball.
So Indiana in all red, Maryland in their home whites. We'll come all the way back to Dane St. Clair. Donovan Pines getting to start at that right center back. Of course, for so many years, it was Alex Cronali, now with the Columbus Crew, who was in that spot for Maryland.
And he has become quite the pro, I should say, Alex Cronali, with Columbus. He has done such a nice job. Of course, been a part of that community for years, but has been involved with a lot of efforts that the team has got him hooked up with. So I credit Alex Crognale and all of those young pros. Of course, he's got a good friend in Zach Steffen out there starting as the goalkeeper for Columbus. So he's got a very comfortable situation with his family and his friends playing for his hometown team.
His brother Eli, a transfer now, a member of the Maryland Terrapins as well. Here's Williamson. Eric Williamson will drop it back over. Zelavic from distance. Rosansky was lurking inside. And Gutman will send it forward. Brilliant ball. Toy back in there. Toy gets to it first. Toy in the 18, waiting for some red jerseys to join in, and here they come. Gutyard now over to Dorsey. Dorsey, overlapping run. Frankie Moore is in, and a sliding tackle by Gasper. Out of nowhere, Frankie Moore. But Gasper able to knock it away. Corner kick, Indiana.
Well, Gasper's taking this game personally, and he has put his mark on everything that's coming down that left-hand side. Gutyard with the square ball, and then the run by Moore, and Moore's got to hit that shot first time, but Gasper does a great job of intercepting it.
So Francesco Moore already has one goal on the season, as now Schwartz will take the corner kick. Third corner for Indiana. St. Clair will punch it out. Top of the 18, sent back into the Crew. Both sides full here at Ludwig Field. Sasho Soroski, after losing UCLA in the 2002 College Cup, came back and said, we're going to create something special here. They got it going with the creation of the Crew, and now they've turned this place into one of the best college soccer venues in the country, so much to the point where they're trying to build a stadium, a 10,000 seat stadium that Sasho Soroski says is going to get done before he walks away from College Park.
And this student supporters section, known as the Crew, may be the only student supporters section in the country that has its own ice cream named after it. Sasho's Crew Crunch was debuted last week, and it's the flavor of the month at Maryland Dairy, and it was created by Sasho and a gourmet chef, and it was done in honor of Sasho's 25 years at Maryland.
Pines. Normally see Donovan Pines make that long run. He got going and then whistled. As you see Pines, number 2, the sophomore from Clarksville, Maryland, River Hill High School. 6'5", the official measurements of Pines. Gasper will chest it down to St. Clair.
Well, Andrew Gutman looking to switch the point of attack, get to the weak side where there are fewer bodies. And it doesn't come together, but that may be a hint at what's to come from Indiana. Remember, we saw how Timmy Mell is able to, from that center back slot alongside Grant Lillard, is able to drive a ball with great precision. And as Maryland loads one side defensively, Indiana can look to switch to a little more open space on the opposite side.
Toy, heavy pressure on Pines. Good recovery though from Pines. One more touch and Toy is in. The long legs of Donovan Pines. Here's Toy gonna try it again. Bergman with the sliding tackle, the German. Mason Toy, South Orange, New Jersey, one of those 4 players with the U.S. Under-18 program that Chris Doran told you about, and he has been impressive here tonight. Throw in for Schwartz, a long one. Flicked around by Lillard. Rosansky for Maryland first. top of the 18, and Jeremiah Gutyard from Bloomington. All right, tomorrow, don't miss a minute of great football action on BTN as Wisconsin, Maryland, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Illinois hit the field for non-conference games. It all begins tomorrow at noon Eastern on BTN and BTN to go. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to find the game in your market.
It's a great step by Jordan Klein.
Klein staying with it. Looked like he was maybe fouled by Bergman. Jeremiah Gutyard grew up in Bloomington, went to camp as a youngster, and now playing for Indiana. Gutyard, another one of those players who has some U.S. national team experience. As you take a look at Gutman.
Gutyard's been very active. He didn't play high school soccer in Bloomington. He went on to play with the Chicago Fire, or I'm sorry, the Indiana Fire Academy program. Phil Presser running things up there in the northern suburbs of Indianapolis.
Dorsey. Ball just got away from him off of Gasper, and a corner kick for Indiana. Griffin Dorsey, the freshman from Evergreen, Colorado.
He's just so quick, loves to have the ball at his feet. He knows where he wants to go, and his commitment to beating defenders is unmatched. As you talk to Todd Yeagley and you hear him review the skill sets of his new freshman.
Corner kick. Sadic. No whistle as Gutman came forward, so Sadic going the other way. Sadic has Rosansky on one side, Wild on the other, but tracking back again is Frankie Moore and Lillard.
Really important. Lillard, you know, is involved in the set piece for the corner kick. It's important that Frankie Moore is back there. He's got to be covering for both Tim Nell and Grant Lillard, who are both involved in that corner kick setup. So great stuff from Frankie Moore. Good awareness from Trey Muse to scoop that ball up, control it, and get it forward again.
A little more end-to-end action as this one starting to mirror last week's matchup against UCLA. The start of the second half, no goals yet, but certainly both teams dangerous. Long throw in for Indiana. Off the head of Pines. He is doing a fantastic job. Frankie Moore and Andrew Samuels, the two defensive midfielders respectively for Indiana and Maryland, both wearing the 1-3 on their jersey. Excellent work by Dorsey. Just a freshman, folks. Rosansky picks his pocket though. Sadic quickly to Wild. Outside to Campbell. Campbell, right foot in. And Lillard will snap it out of there with a diving header.
Indiana got a little out of shape there defensively. Maryland did a really nice job with pace to get that ball inside. Bailed out by Grant Lillard. That's a terrific ball in. Perhaps a little bit more on that, but the senior defender, the leader, one of the captains, Grant Lillard, does a nice job there.
Excellent ball in. Williamson now waiting near the end line. Set back for Elney. As Williamson and Elney played together again with the U.S. Youth Program. Combined since arriving here at College Park. Now in their third season as Lillard comes back to clean it up.
Lillard's got to track back on this run. He's got to stay with his man as the play starts to close down. Does a nice job of sticking alongside Elney on the run.
Sadic loose. Williamson sitting on that yellow card, takes a shot, deflected. That Hoosier defense allowed just 1 goal in 4 games. Clears it before it can get to the goalkeeper, Muse. Now Zelavic, lofted ball. And it's Dorsey who heads it 20 yards.
Couple of sequences here where Maryland's getting cracks at goal, but that ball is finding defenders before it gets to the 6-yard box.
Timmy Mel taken down hard.
But Williamson has been physical from the get-go. He's spent time this summer, of course, playing internationally with the U20s, had a goal against Venezuela. Such a talented player. This is like the 3rd talking to that he's gotten from our referee tonight. He has no play on the ball, and he's jumping in, and Tim Mel suffering the contact. Mel brings that ball down. You know, I actually give Williamson some credit. Maybe it was his trailing foot that made contact with Mel, but Williamson does a nice job of challenging for that ball. It probably could have been worse.
Yeah, he came through. It was on Mel's follow through. The problem is, though, he's just looking a tad bit reckless on it. And as you said, even on that first one, he didn't do it on purpose. And it was also Mel that he ran into where he got the yellow card. And then a little bit later, though, he left his feet. So that's when Mark Kedlesic had the one talk with him. And I got a feeling Mark Kedlesic basically said, look, young man, you're this close to not being a part of this one. But you could also tell Williamson not feeling like any of them were intentional as he was just going for it. So I think a good job by Mark Kedlesic to hang on to that card and just instruct him at the moment. Here comes Elney to Williamson. Timmy Mel will take it away from Williamson. Good tackle by Elney. He'll take it away. And once again, picked off.
Yeah, I think Toya's got to make himself available for that first pass. He's running away from his teammates. He's got to maybe check to them in the space that he's already created for himself. Get off that defender, track back 3 or 4 yards, get the ball back to goal, hold it, and then get some numbers in around him so that they can advance.
Mel. Rosansky first, picked up by Wild. Zelavic. Moore. Pushed forward. Trying to find Buckmaster. Deflected and out of bounds. Later tonight is women's volleyball on BTN as the 12th ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers host number 11 UCLA in what should be an outstanding matchup. Don't miss women's volleyball presented by Tachikara tonight at 9 Eastern right here on BTN. As the Big Ten once again locked and loaded with several top 20 teams in volleyball. Pines. Over to Campbell. Campbell. Right side. Mishit, it'll go out of bounds.
Maryland's starting to find some space. They're able to move the ball a little bit here in the second half into the attacking third. What they're lacking is connection on that final pass. So they don't have their targets available to them. That's a really nice ball to the outside. And a great opportunity for Zelavic. But a big ball over the goal line and a chance now for Indiana to see what they can do.
Zelavic back in there for Sasho Saraski. Played over 70 minutes in that UCLA game. It was a deceptive 70 minutes, wasn't it, for Zelavic, but effective. Another goal for him. Dorsey. And Toy wanted it. Swartz will clean it up. That was Campbell who just flicked his foot at it to stop that pass from Swartz.
This is great stuff from Frankie Moore in 2 sequences. Wins the ball back, drives it downfield, has to recover, and then clean it up again.
Hines. Now, Chris, I'm going to jump on that because I think you're right. Now we're looking at a 0-0 game that doesn't feel like a 0-0 game. Both teams showing quality, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and you can see how Maryland's moving the ball. Indiana's been patient enough. They're going to move the line of engagement up just a little bit. When you've got speedsters in there like Mason Toy, he can afford to put some pressure on people as long as he's got his teammates behind him. Griffin Dorsey getting a little too much of that play, and a whistle for Maryland. This is Dorsey returning the favor after all the trouble that's been caused by Chase Gasper in Dorsey's efforts toward goal. Gasper gets a little bit going the other way.
Look at the motor on Dorsey running off the ball. And it's Bergman. That sliding tackle will go off of Kadlesic. It's one of the only ways Rosansky will ever turn the ball over.
A little casual from Tim Mell. Indiana able to get away with that.
Dropped in. Toy looks like he was grabbed at the last moment. He goes down. Dane St. Clair telling Toy to get up. Bergman grabbed his arm. I'm okay with him rolling down right there.
Apparently the referee was too. No card for embellishment.
Andrew Samuels. St. Clair flicked it back over on his preferred left foot. Zelavic. Gasper will clean it up to Bergman. 27 minutes remaining in regulation. Still no score. I feel like a goal is coming.
That was a really nifty look by Amar Sejdic. He turns, puts his back to the attacking end of the field, and delivers the ball wide, switching the point of attack. It didn't find its target, but I like the way he's thinking there.
Indiana quickly. Just like that, they get it into the 18. Deflected out, and another corner kick for Indiana.
Mason Toy's got to be careful. He's allowing the crew to get into his game a little bit. Chatting it up with the opposing team's supporters group. And he'll exit the game at this point. Corner kick for Indiana. A couple of big services into the box that haven't amounted to anything. They've got a number of tools in their toolbox. Let's see if they do something a little different.
Well, you can see Todd Yeagley talking to him as well. I think it may be about what you picked up on, talking to the members of the crew, perhaps saying something like, we don't do that at Indiana. Corner kick for Gutyard with the right foot. Lillard makes the near post run. It's Pines right in front of St. Clair. Thomas Ward, number 18, into the game now. Another one of those great freshmen. This freshman class, quality for the Indiana Hoosiers. Mixed in with great experience. Part of the reason why Todd Yeagley talking about trying to add a 9th star to their jersey. 8 stars representing their 8 national championships. Klein sent in. Rosansky will head it. A fall to Gutman. Good first time shot from Gutman.
Great hustle by Dorsey to keep that in.
Dane St. Clair. Bergman, you can tell, looking for Maryland to show in some way. Instead, he goes back to St. Clair. DJ Reeves into the game, number 11 for Maryland. Williamson heads it to Zelavic. A battle there with Corey Thomas. One back by Zelavic. Push forward. Zelavic deflected. I think it's going to be a corner kick. Maryland. Nope, they'll say that was all Zelavic. It'll come back to Indiana.
Well, he plays with such passion and determination. We saw that last week against UCLA. Zelavic does a terrific job of getting through traffic. Look at how hard he has to work to get that ball to Zelavic. And Zelavic not able to connect with a shot on frame.
Zelavic. All about scoring goals. Rosansky, ACC all-freshman team, second team all-ACC when they won the national championship. Deflected away and knocked out of bounds.
Jordan Klein got caught a little flat-footed, but the redshirt sophomore from Plainfield, Indiana, the former Gatorade Player of the Year in Indiana, does a nice job of recovering and is able to knock that ball out of harm's way.
Here's Rosansky. With that combination of Lillard and Mel. Two center backs for the Hoosiers. Been on point. Williamson back to Zelavic. Looking for options. He'll find one. Gasper, the left back. One bounce and no problem. Out of bounds. Another big crowd. This one not quite in the top 10, but it does get them right at that 20,000 mark that we told you about for the last 4 home games. 6,981. As that'll be right around 9 or 10 on the all-time list. Phenomenal attendance here at Ludwig Field.
And it's just such a great college environment. We've been to so many different stadiums around the country, and when Ludwig Field is the host for any one of the many games that we cover, the tailgate parties for the students, the tailgate parties for the adults, the family members of the players, so expansive, and they take up the lots all around Ludwig Field. The arrival time is very early in the afternoon, and they stay straight through in anticipation of celebrating a Terrapin victory, because let's face it, Maryland has been wonderful at home for a long time.
Oh, their regular season record, amazing. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. Right now, the offside flag is up. As you take a look at DJ Reeves, Chris Doran called it the redemption tour this year as Maryland was knocked out by Providence in their first game of the NCAA tournament. Let's take a look at this play first.
This is just terrific work by Maryland, an opportunity to get through. Zelavic plays with a little bit of anger. He's got an edge to his game that I really love, and I think it's helped him mesh well with his teammates out there, because that's the kind of thing that Maryland needs, that bite, when they play these big-time games on a Friday night, or any game for that matter. This is going to be a problem for Maryland.
Thomas taken down by Pines. And Pines will get a yellow card. His hand hit the face of Thomas.
And as tall as Donovan is, a lot of this stuff can happen incidentally. I'm not sure Pines was necessarily intending to do that, but you know, that contact is a whistle and a card. As expected, now Maryland is going to have to be attentive on this restart. Mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, restarts and the talent pool that Todd Yeagley's got with his coaching staff, they are spending a lot of time on the diversity of their restarts.
Referee marking off the 10 yards. Tim Mel Wearing number 20 over the ball. Dane St. Clair directing traffic.
Tim Mel can do everything for you. He probably strikes the ball better than anybody in an Indiana uniform.
So here he goes, the redshirt junior from Manhattan Beach, California. Dane St. Clair just touched it over the crossbar. It'll be a corner kick, Indiana.
Tim Mel goes right to goal, drops this ball over the wall, and Dane St. Clair is up to the challenge. Deep breath for Maryland now. They've got to do the same thing again off this corner kick.
Corner kick sent in. Once again, Pines is there. It'll fall to Gutman. A swing and a miss. He's going to stay with it. Pines will clean it up. The attack going the other way. Williamson. Williamson with more in front of him. Williamson running into red jerseys. Keeps possession. Great ball. Rosansky back to Williamson. Williamson will square it. And look at all the red jerseys in the 18 after that counter from Maryland.
Just great effort from Indiana to get back behind the ball after 2 restarts at the other end of the field.
Thomas. Both teams going to their bench. And I think that has also equated to the extra energy we're seeing here in the second half. Both teams have 4 or 5 attacking players that are pretty much interchangeable. You don't lose anything. Poncho bringing great energy. Corey Thomas. Thomas War. That's for Indiana. Williamson. Back to Campbell. But Gutman had it red, and then Gutman with the shield.
Well, those are 2 strong penetrating passes that Maryland's getting. They penetrated that first line of defense with the ball through, and then the second line of the last line of defense with that penetrating service. Really great sequence for Maryland. Not able to make anything come from it. Here's the transition, and we're watching the numbers now. It's 1v2, 1v1 right now. Here come the troops from behind. Williamson is left with very little in the way of options, though he finds help inside. But Indiana does a great job of getting those numbers back.
Yeah, at one point it was 2-on-2, and then all of a sudden when Williamson got it into the 18, it was 2-on-7. The disciplined defense under the direction of Todd Yeagley. Now in his 8th season as the top man at Indiana, was the longtime assistant after leaving the Columbus Crew, where he had a management role, got the job at Wisconsin for 1 year. And it's only fitting that a Yeagley is running the show. There'll be a throw in here for Dorsey. Dorsey will get it right back. Pines gets low with his head. Klein. Now Samuels. Gutman kept alive, still pinging around. And Frankie Moore, who was one of the first to get back off that corner kick transition. Not the fastest player, Moore, but man, he gets the most out of everything God gave him. You can say that for sure.
Absolutely. I want to credit Donovan Pines. He has played a terrific air game tonight.
Gutman, what a pass. How did Gutman thread that needle? Dorsey! Side of his foot, trying to sneak it through or get a deflection.
Great sequence, ball through. Buckmaster is there, leaves it for Dorsey, who's got very little in the way of options, but strikes it first time as he should.
Phenomenal pass by Gutman. Another corner kick for Indiana.
I think Reese Buckmaster is, or Thomas War is marked there in the corner.
Once again, Pines. Chris Dorn just told you about his quality in the air. And it was Pines again. What a weapon.
Yeah, Pines has been terrific tonight. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to secure his spot in the starting 11 week in and week out, but this young man tonight has been phenomenal in the air. He has done it all.
Later tonight, it's women's volleyball on BTN as the 12th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers host number 11 UCLA. Don't miss women's volleyball presented by Tachikara tonight at 9 Eastern right here on BTN. Have not said the name of Gordon Wild a ton here in the second half. As we mentioned, Sasho Soroski telling us that he's been bothered by injuries, not 100%, which adds more credibility to his plan for that 21st century model. The notion of soccer, not enough time in preseason, not enough time between games, and going to a full academic year soccer season, starting to gain momentum. Chad Hawley from the Big Ten pushing it. Todd Yeagley also jumping on board with so many Division I coaches.
You know, one of the things that hasn't been mentioned is the sustained story effect that I think is important for our game. And what I mean by that is, on college campuses around the country right now, soccer is only talked about really in the fall. You know, the spring season, yes, has a couple of high-profile exhibition matches, but for the most part it's just a conversation that happens from September until December. I think it'd be great if you stretched it to a 10-month calendar, that you can sustain the conversation of your college soccer team on campus over the duration of the school year and keep it relevant in that vein.
We'll continue to follow that progress on the full academic year soccer season. In the meantime, Johannes Bergman with a blatant yellow. In fact, you could see the emotion on the face of Todd Yeagley. A big-time jersey pull here.
Yeah, well, it's a tactical foul, and it's one that we see in the game at all different levels. Simply because Bergman knew he was beat, and he didn't want to be in a numbers down situation in the defending third for Maryland.
Indiana loose inside. Thomas thought it was deflected off of Pines. The referee doesn't think so. It'll come back to Dane St. Clair. 14 minutes remaining here in regulation. Still no score, but without question, this second half has delivered end-to-end action.
There's no doubt that this place is going to go bananas if Maryland scores, but I have to tell you, I think the Maryland crowd has been out of this game since the first half in the way of what they could offer with loudness, right? But Indiana's done a really nice job of sharing the possession and sharing the opportunities, to the point where I think Maryland fans are probably sitting there wondering just how this will end.
Two fantastic teams, juggernauts of college soccer. Bergman. Gasper. Far side. And there is Gordon Wild, as we mentioned, have not said his name in a while. Don't see him head a ton of balls and just missed that one.
Well, he's back in the game here after taking a break, and this big-time service from a guy who's certainly finding himself in the way of comfort, Chase Gasper on the left side. Gordon Wild knows the way Rashad Hyacinth knew in the first half that that was a gift waiting to be unwrapped.
7 shots for Indiana on the game, now 4 for Maryland. Pines will use St. Clair.
And one of the things that I think, as Trevor Swartz enters the game again for Indiana, and the exit by Griffin Dorsey, for Donovan Pines, I think the next level of his game as a center back, and we saw this with Alex Cronali as he developed as a center back for Maryland, is that penetrating pass from the back, you know, to find connection. There's an effort there. He finds it. Good, great stuff.
Wild, what a move, but back to his right foot. He can hit him with both. Prefers the left, though, and this one he mishit into the stands.
I just think Donovan Pines can be that player where as he grows more comfortable with the ball at his feet, he's going to be able to find the penetrating pass. He did there, and the quick 1-2 gives Gordon Wild a look at goal from about 22 out with his right foot.
Ball roll out of bounds over to the Maryland bench. Later tonight, it's women's volleyball on BTN. 12th ranked Nebraska, number 11 UCLA. Don't miss women's volleyball presented by Tachi Kara. The Bruins and the Cornhuskers coming up next here on the Big Ten Network. Perhaps after, dare I say it, more overtime soccer drama here at College Park. Plenty of time left, though, for a regulation goal. Swartz, instead of dropping one in with his left foot, over to Mel, right back to Swartz. Swartz, Thomas, end line, first time. Nobody home. Cleaned up now, Frankie Moore over the ball. Nifty little back heel by War, kept alive. Poncho still loose and just outside as Indiana keeping possession. St. Clair not sure if he had that one, as once again Gutman comes forward and takes a shot with that left foot.
It just unbalances everything when Gutman works his way into the attacking third, and he's got looks. Look, he's at the top of the 18, and with his right foot is able to get a crack at goal. You're left with the very brief conversation in the defending third. Who's got who? It unbalances a defense when you've got more bodies in there than they were planning on.
And it was Gutman's right foot, not his left. Just missing the frame, as it looked like it may have snuck in far post. Another whistle against Maryland. Restart for Indiana. Urgency for both teams. Trying to put a capper on this one in regulation and start the Big Ten season with 3 points. It'll pop up to Poncho. Deflected off of Samuels, and another corner kick for Indiana. Now their 8th corner of the game.
When you start forcing play and you start taking chances in the attacking third, this is what happens. Opportunities coming from corner kicks awarded.
So Thomas War, the freshman, will be on the near post. You see Rosansky for Maryland keeping an eye on it. Quarter kick duties now for Austin Poncho. Poncho away from St. Clair, but not away from Pines.
Dare I say it, Pines is having a career game tonight.
He's been phenomenal. Poncho, and there's Pines closing down, but it'll be a corner kick. No, they'll say Pines, look at him tracking back, able to knock that off of Poncho.
After he wins that corner kick, he steps back out. Not a lot of speed, but he covers a lot of ground, doesn't he? Donovan Pines, for me, at this point, if we end regulation 0-0, he's the player of the match.
Those long legs getting it done. Moore had it for a moment. Rosansky, just one of those guys that Sasho, hard for him to take him out at any point. Williamson. That's Zelavic, but then Timmy Mel. There is Rosansky. Gordon Wild looking for options. Keeps it on the ground.
Yeah, I like Maryland the way they enjoyed the build-up with the ball on the ground, but in that sequence, very briefly, Bergman sends a long ball over 45-50 yards and just unsettles everything. I know we're in the waning moments of this match, at least in regulation anyway, But I think that kind of variety is essential at times. Change the buildup. Go ahead and send the long ball. Let's get a 2v3 situation down there and bring some bodies in and see if we can make this happen for ourselves.
Keep an eye out for that, Chris Doran, as Pines finds Campbell. Zelavic behind him. Bergman to Gasper. Sebastian Elney waiting to check in for Maryland. Eric Williamson. Straight downhill. Spins around Klein. Williamson deflected by Mel. Corner kick Maryland.
Tim Mel, as we mentioned, put himself on the map for the coaches last year in this game, a 1-1 draw in Bloomington. And Mel tonight playing alongside Grant Lillard does a nice job of keeping his feet and denying that opportunity from a world-class attacking player like Williamson.
Good team defending. Williamson went around Klein, but there was Mel to save the day. You saw Lillard and Mel also working together. Headed out of there by Lillard. Campbell sent right back in. What a strike from distance.
And why not? George Campbell came here as a striker. We watched him in his freshman year starting up top, and then he gradually worked his way back to midfield. In the spring of this year, Sasho Sarowski said, hey, look, we want to put you at right back, but you need to be involved in the attack, and that's one of the ways he can do it.
Well said. George Campbell, the senior, former Maryland Player of the Year, National Player of the Year as well. Phenomenal goal-scoring prowess. Look at Williamson staying with it. Runs into 3 red jerseys. Dorsey and Gutyard hoping to check in for Todd Yeagley in his 8th season alongside associate head coach Brian Mazanoff. You could forget back in '94 both those players winning College Player of the Year. And then Mazanoff, all he would do was go on to represent the USA in the Olympics and a World Cup.
And he's, at times it's been argued that he's still the best player on the field, even at the ripe old age of 39 or 40 that Brian is. Just a terrific guy, great in the community, involved with his son's travel team and involved with the youth players in Bloomington too.
Here comes Sebastian Elney. Elney with Mel picking him up and picking his pocket. It'll go forward here. Bergman knocked out of bounds. Yeah, Brian Mazanoff on the bench with Kevin Robeson. Zach Brown now in his first season. It's Bergman knocking it out of bounds for a throw in for Indiana. Thomas stays in the moment. Mason Toy stretching out. Both coaches also thinking about managing the extra time. College soccer, they play 2 10-minute sudden death, golden goal, sudden victory, whatever you want to call it. You score in overtime, you win it. Throw in quickly for Indiana. The Hoosiers and Gutman.
Good work defensively from Maryland, and now they've got to get bodies out in transition.
Once again, though, Indiana able to get back on defense. Gasper trying to find Zelavic. There's Klein. Knocked to the ground by Zelavic with 2 minutes and change left here in regulation. Coming up, it's women's volleyball on BTN as the 12th ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers host number 11 UCLA. Women's volleyball presented by Tachi Kara right here on the Big Ten Network. Coming up next, after this one is finished, top 12 matchup for for volleyball, UCLA and Nebraska. Thomas comes in too hard. A foul and perhaps a card for Thomas. He'll get a yellow card.
Well, the redshirt junior from Corydon, Indiana, always brings great energy off the bench, commitment to the game. And in this situation where Indiana has the chance to regain possession in the Maryland half of the field, the referee didn't like what he saw.
So Thomas gets the yellow card. Bergman, he's going to bomb it into the 18. That's Zelavic. Two of the best men's college soccer programs going toe-to-toe. A series matchup between these two teams, pretty amazing. Elney over to Zelavic. Hoosiers currently holding a 3-2-5 series advantage. Way out of the 18 is St. Clair. Bombs it the other way. Elney trying to stay with it. Lillard. We'll see if both teams try to work off these final 30 seconds. Overtime last week against UCLA. The thriller from Elney. Do we have overtime soccer again as we start Big Ten men's soccer conference play tonight? Zelavic looking for Elney. Cleared out of there by Dorsey. Final seconds. And indeed, we will have overtime soccer. These two teams went to overtime last year on the Big Ten Network. The final score was 1-1. That man had an assist in that game, and he's been perhaps the player of the game for Maryland.
Yeah, he's done a terrific job. Donovan Pines has really minimized the damage that Indiana can do when they are in control and in your defending third of the field. But I think overall, this last 45 minutes is a reflection of the quality of coaching on both benches, because it opened up just a little bit, just enough where there were a few more chances on both ends of the field. The players were up to the challenges. Here we are, locked at zeros and ready to go to overtime.
Sebastian Elney, some magic in his boots last Friday. Can he bring it again? Indiana and Maryland, 4 and 5 respectively, tied at zeros after regulation. Speaking of overtime thriller for Maryland.
Well, it was 0-0 at the half and then 2-2 in the end of regulation. So we go to overtime, and Sebastian Elney, who lives up to the billing every single time it seems, put the Maryland Terrapins to a point where they were able to enjoy overtime victory.
Jake Rosansky putting that one on a dime for Elney. You see him in your screen there off the right shoulder of Sasho Soroski in his 25th season at Maryland. Ironically, his brother starred at Michigan State. He's a Midwestern guy. Said when he came to Maryland, he built the program off of what Jerry Yeagley, the Godfather, did at Indiana, and here they are.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, the Jerry Yeagley model was one that a lot of people tapped into. In fact, Ziggy Schmidt did the same thing at UCLA. And so to actually have the coaches sort of boast about that, I think is a real credit to former IU head coach and legend Jerry Yeagley.
Tomorrow, Chris, don't miss a minute of great football action on BTN as Wisconsin, Maryland, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Illinois hit the field for non-conference games. It all begins tomorrow at noon Eastern on BTN and BTN to go. Go to btn.com/gamefinder to find the game in your market. In fact, Sasso Soroski saying that perhaps if they don't break the record, it's because they're still on that emotional high. The Maryland football team went into Texas and beat the Longhorns last week, and now they'll take on Towson right here on the Big Ten Network. So that tailgate you talked about for the soccer team spilling over now for the football team.
Probably all started yesterday morning, too.
Sebastian Elney trying to knock one in. What do you make of those stats here through 90?
Well, we saw a little bit more in the way of activity in the final third, but as I mentioned, Indiana's defense dropping numbers back, and Trey Muse has not had to make a save, Dean. The other side of the field, we've got 8 corners for Indiana. They are pushing the game and forcing errors, or at least forcing that ball. They don't mind seeing the ball go over the goal line for a corner kick, but they'd like to see it cross the goal line between the pipes. Let's see if we can get that done at either end of the field here as we get set for overtime.
So Williamson's going to stay in there. Elney back in. Your overtime rules, we talked about it. They'll go 10 minutes, and if tied after that, they'll each get a point to start the Big Ten Men's Soccer Conference season. But if one of them scores like Elney did last week against UCLA and 2 years prior against UCLA, well, you know the deal. You win it.
Coach Todd Yeagley telling me this week that the game after the Adidas Classic that they host on Labor Day weekend is always sort of a bit of a downer because of the big crowds in Bloomington. He knew that that would not be the case tonight. This is not a warm crowd for the Indiana players, but certainly the kind of crowd that they were anticipating, and one that makes for a very exciting environment for college soccer.
Well, here we go. Maryland, who, by the way, is the only team in either the ACC or the Big Ten to win back-to-back conference tournaments, as they won it their last 2 years in the ACC, and since arriving in the Big Ten, they've won all 3 Big Ten tournaments. So that's 5 conference tournaments in a row for the Maryland Terrapins.
And not that they needed it, but it was an automatic berth to the NCAA tournament that way. They've had outstanding regular seasons throughout, and given the level of competition that they schedule year in and year out, both of these teams with strong RPI performances at the end of the season.
Well, that'll lead us right up to our State Farm State of Success. The Maryland Terrapins, we mentioned that redemption tour because they did not lose a regular season game last year. Their last loss was to John Bloom and the Ohio State Buckeyes. In fact, Ohio State won the regular season title in 2015, the only piece of hardware Maryland has not picked up since entering the Big Ten. But that heartbreak loss to Providence, they were leading 4-1 in the second half and lost to Providence 5-4. As Toy inside the 18, it'll fall back to Gutyard, and he was going to try to end that State Farm State of Success right there.
Well, Jeremiah Gutyard is a great holding mid, but getting him higher up the field has been a priority for Todd Yeagley and the coaching staff at Indiana. Toy can't get to this ball. The play back to Gutyard at the top of the 18. I watched him at training the other day. He struck balls from 22 yards out and scored. He also made cutting runs to the far post and was able to pop balls in off the goal line. So really strong offensively now, a great component of the game for Gutyard to develop.
And now Gutyard will take the corner kick. High, looping ball. Williamson will let it roll out of bounds, and they'll say no. Off of Maryland, corner kick on the other side. So another opportunity for Indiana to stop that regular season streak that is amazing for the Terps. The Hoosiers, high looping ball. Lillard, Toy, loose. Finally cleared out of there by Elney. Sent back in by Frankie Moore, but nobody home.
Great work inside the box. Lillard able to get the first touch. Toy gets the second, and you know you're going to put the defense in a really tough situation on a play like that when the ball drops to the ground and it's popcorning around inside and no one really has a clean touch at the ball. That's really great stuff from Indiana. Maryland got burned by that against UCLA last week. They've got to get that ball outside of the 18 as quickly as possible. Second chances for attacking teams on restarts like that can kill you.
Trey Muse. The goalkeeper for Indiana's not had to do a whole lot, as Chris Doran told you. Hard tackle coming in there from Zelavic.
He's just got the edge, Zelavic, for such a young player. He's just, I love the edge he plays with.
I wonder if that mustache adds to that edge for Zelavic. Good look for the young man. 5 minutes and change left here in the first overtime. So a yellow card issued for Zelavic. One too many words for Marquette Lessig. Actually, they're going to give it to Sebastian Elney, I think. So Elney. Not totally sure if it was Elney or Zelavic. Double check that. Elney back on it. Elney.
Again, Indiana with great numbers behind the ball, and now they come out in transition.
I thought Dorsey was going to lock and load that extra gear that he has shown all night, but got away from him. Pines will clear it. We can tell you that it was Elney, number 9, with the yellow card for dissent. Klein. Converted attacking player at right back for Todd Yeagley and the Hoosiers. Buckmaster. It'll fall to Gutman. Left foot. Oh, and a save by St. Clair. That one had eyes for the Hoosiers.
Boy, in this simple play, you see the quality of two very, very good players. Andrew Gutman gets this ball outside from Reese Buckmaster. Look at the knuckle on that ball, and how about Dane St. Clair? Coming up huge for the Terrapins.
Making you indeed remember what Zach Steffens did in a few years for Maryland Terrapins in goal, as Chris Doran compared the two. Here's a shot, and St. Clair again. Are you kidding me? Saving the day for the Terps.
St. Clair may have heard that I was leaning toward Pines as player of the game, and he's decided to force the recast on the vote.
Two incredible saves. We'll show them to you when we can, but right now Indiana back in business. Another corner kick, and why not? St. Clair there to clean it up.
The last 3 minutes has been all St. Clair. How about this opportunity? Donovan Pines gets this ball out, and the rip inside by Buckmaster is saved by St. Clair at the last moment.
What a great shot there by our Big Ten Network crew as Buckmaster. He was making what's called the celebration turn. No doubt about it. He was headed to Todd Yeagley and Brian Mazanoff, as that was a BTN standout save from Dane St. Clair.
Not even marked on the volley. Buckmaster gets the benefit of the deflection off of Pines, but St. Clair is all over it.
So now Gordon Wild will come back on. As we mentioned, not 100%, been bothered by a little bit of a tweak. That's all we know from Sasho Swarovski and Eric Williamson. Go out. Boy, you talked about getting the crowd into it. The crew right behind St. Clair erupted after that second save. lost from Klein, and there he is, number 99.
Watch the stretch here. He's in the middle of the goal. He's got an eye on it, and he gets to it. Fantastic stuff from St. Clair.
Reese Buckmaster was in the right spot, but St. Clair says, not in my house.
Tim Mell blew a tire when he was fouled in that last sequence.
By the way, Reese Buckmaster, just one goal in his career. That came in 2015. He's got 3 assists. He was making that turn as if he's done that before, I can tell you that. But St. Clair has also, quote, done that before with the big save. 1:45 left here in the first overtime. Francesco Moore, Highland Park, Illinois. Thomas getting an extended run for Todd Yeagley here in this one. Not so much Rashad Hyacinth, who's coming off a big game.
I think what Todd Yeagley's got this year versus what he's probably had in the past in terms of options off the bench in the attacking half of the field.
Gutman to Dorsey.
Gives him a lot of flexibility.
We've seen that tonight. Seen it all season. Indiana 4-0. Outscoring the opposition 11-1. Goals hard to come by tonight, though. That's what happens when two of the Titans go toe-to-toe. Dorsey, player down for Indiana, right in front of the Maryland bench. That ball will go out of bounds. It's Gutman. Is it Moore, rather? I think it's Moore.
The coaching staff are going to hope Frankie gets all the time he needs before the athletic training staff is called on to work through this. Really important part of the puzzle for Indiana. You're holding your breath until he gets back up and is able to walk it off.
Yeah, Moore, 21 games 2015, 19 more a year ago, and he's an automatic lineup right-in for Todd Yeagley. And there's Moore getting a touch on it. Picked up, though, by Rosansky. This overtime, if you're scoring it at home, boxing style, would go to Indiana. Final seconds, loose, shot! Wow, I think it was Wild it fell to with that left foot. And I think it would have counted for Gordon Wild, but just too high.
And I think Wild's shots all night have been high. He hasn't been able to get anything on frame, and we're here through what is 100 minutes of soccer, and the Indiana goalkeeper has not had to make a save. So Maryland getting some looks. Indiana probably enjoying the brunt of the play in that first overtime period. Still locked at zeros.
What a great stat, Chris Doran. No saves for Indiana, but how about Dane St. Clair? He's got 6, including 2 back-to-back here in this first overtime.
Boy, if you're Dane St. Clair, you're buying a lottery ticket. This is huge for him in the regulation, and then we go to overtime with an opportunity from Gutman, and he goes far left and does a great job, and then to the upper right-hand corner off the deflection is able to keep a bead on it, keep it out of the net.
You said it. Left hand, right hand, sliding with his feet, athletic, acrobatic, and a big reason why you see those zeros on the scoreboard.
talked about how good Donovan Pines is consistently in the air. He's done a really wonderful job defensively for Maryland, but in the waning moments of regulation and overtime, Dane St. Clair has lived up to the expectations of goalkeeper.
Yeah, Dane St. Clair, a big-time volleyball man in Canada, by the way. Huge for men's volleyball. Could still be playing it. And guess what? Later tonight, coming up, rather, it's women's volleyball. Coming up next on BTN is the 12th-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers and number 11 UCLA. Women's volleyball presented by Tachikara. I'm not surprised St. Clair is a big-time men's volleyball superstar. In fact, you think about UCLA men's volleyball, which the women will take on Nebraska, one of the best in the country. Their coach is the national team coach for men's volleyball, and he'd fit right in. Can jump out of a gym as well.
Terrific, athletic, only a sophomore, has great experience with the Canadian national team program. And his development appears to be right on track because he's tearing it up tonight between the pipes for Maryland.
Kevin Robeson, assistant coach. Last word of instruction there for the Indiana Hoosiers. They have come to play here in College Park, Maryland. Now the Crew trying to get fired up here for the second overtime.
Wild appeared in about 3 minutes of that first overtime session, so he had 7 minutes rest. You suspect that he's relatively fresh at this point. And if he lives up to the billing that his sophomore year presented, and that was finishing as a finalist as a Mac Hermann Trophy recipient, he could have something special in his hip pocket here in the next 10 minutes.
A great point, because it is going to be wild with Williamson at Zelavic, not Sebastian Elney, the hero from a week ago here to start that second overtime. Brian Mazanoff, the associate head coach for Indiana, with that catch. Gives it to Gasper. Throw in to Zelavic. And here's Klein. That's a tough ball he just gave Frankie Moore. Andrew Samuels is almost like a sweeper now instead of a holding mid, sitting behind both Pines and Bergman. Back across, trying to find Toy. Gutyard. And there is Samuels, who we just told you has dropped way back, loose in front. It's Gutman. Knocked out of there by Zelavic. Here comes Moore. Frankie Moore set in with his right foot. Cleared out by Gasper, picked up by Klein. Tough ball for Toy to handle, but his effort keeps it alive as Mel will come forward into space, trying to run it down as Pancho. Can he get there? Boy, he does, but it rolls out of bounds.
Last year, a great one in Bloomington, Maryland, and Indiana battling it out. Rich Ballard does a really nice job of getting into this one and puts Indiana up on the board 1-0. Are they going to be able to hold on? We thought so. We're in, what, the 88th minute? Ball sent in by Pines, and that's Alex Cronali, the big center back who now plays professionally, who puts that ball in. They go to overtime, and they settle for 1-1 in Bloomington.
1-1 last year, zeros right now with exactly 8 minutes remaining here. Again, if nobody scores, it'll just be 1 point for each team to start the Big Ten Men's Conference soccer season. They go out of bounds off of Corey Thomas, as we said. A big run here for Todd Yeagley, the redshirt junior.
Those long legs of Donovan Pines, though, paying off in those 1v1 situations. He does such a nice job of shutting those attacking players down in that channel.
The Indiana Hoosiers with 13 shots on the road here in Ludwig Field, the house that Sasho built. Maryland just with 7 shots and none on goal. Indiana, 6 of those 13 have been on frame. None, though, have found the back of the net. Could it be right now? Klein. Toy showing. Toy's behind him. Klein, a man on a mission. Hard tackle by Gasper once, then twice. Off the head of Bergman. Every loose ball right now, though, being picked up by the team in red. That's Indiana. Buckmaster over to Poncho. Gutyard. And now Williamson will pick it up. Williamson trying to go the other way. Gutman defensively was right there.
Maryland doing a really nice job defensively, matching their opponent in the way they drop the numbers back and keep the marks honestly.
And indeed, Samuels has basically gone to that sweeper role, Chris Doran, sitting behind the two center backs, as it looks like they're almost going with three in the back right now, Maryland. Sasso Soroski said he wouldn't be afraid to do that. Gutyard kept alive. Played quickly. Moore will survey. What a ball. End line, across, and nobody home. Far post.
That's going to be a throw-in on this near side for Maryland. Indiana a chance to keep them pinched in. Gutman looks really, really strong heading to that corner.
Yeah, Gutman up and down that left side all night long. Endless engine. As Toy goes down. That was a pretty special pass, though, from Moore to find Gutman. Indiana has had the ball in the 18 for the majority of the 15 minutes played here in overtime. Their 18, searching for the victory. And number 99, Dane St. Clair, with two hero-like saves in that first overtime to keep this game scoreless.
One of the things that's going to be beneficial for St. Clair, and I don't know that he was lacking any of it.
Williamson, nifty flick, Zelavic in! And he'll run into Klein. Look at Klein coming all the way over from that right back spot. Boy, those back four, talk about having each other's back all the way across.
Really nice job by Indiana. They dodged one there. When Gordon Wild gets that ball in that spot just inside the 18, he is so dangerous. Wild finds Zelavic on the Williamson flick, and good stuff from Maryland. Can't find that final crack at goal.
That flick from Williamson, as we
keep it going forward. That's all that flick is.
Yeah,
that's all you need to do is just keep it going forward.
Found Zelavic. Of course, Williamson scored a big goal for the USA under 20s. Sebastian Elney headed out of there by Klein. What a drop from Thomas. Now it's time for Toy. Toy with Samuels on him. Samuels going toe-to-toe with the freshman Toy.
That's great work by Samuels defensively. Good hustle back from Toy.
Look at that shot right there. Both coaches, Sasso Soroski, far side, Todd Yeagley, in his 8th season in charge of the Indiana Hoosiers.
It's a really classic bunch of coaches on both sidelines.
Wild trying to turn the corner on Timmy Mell. They'll say off of Mell, throw in Maryland. Little over 2 minutes remaining here in the game. Wild. Nebraska and UCLA women's volleyball coming up right after this one. Number 12 and 11. Here it's 4 and 5. Indiana number 4 in the United Soccer Coaches poll. Maryland number 5. Zelavic.
Great 1v1 defending from Mel. Zelavic has had his way a bit with this game. Mel was up to the challenge.
Under 90 seconds remaining. Dane St. Clair, he fell over his feet that time. He's going to face some Hoosier pressure. Gutyard, what a ball! Oh, my toy had some time, perhaps, as Samuels was a little late. His first-time effort, though, not even close, and into the stands.
Gutyard off balance, gets that ball back between the two defenders, and a chance for Toy to maybe settle with his left and take that second touch. Does a really nice job of staying free, but the sense of urgency may be overcoming him a bit, thinking he had to go one touch.
Quick throw in here for Maryland. Zelavic had it for a moment. Bergman still loose. Gutman finally able to clear it. Trying to find the ball over in front of the Maryland bench is Indiana. Let's see if the Hoosiers have one last push here on the road. In front of just under 7,000. We believe it's going to slide into the top 10, right around there. Just under the top 8 mark, and there it is. After 110 minutes, two of college soccer's best on the men's side finish at zeros.
Well,